Good evening, guys. Welcome back to another video. It's Stephen here with 5 things that we learned from City's very impressive, very satisfying 2-0 win away at St James's Park against Newcastle in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. Absolutely lovely stuff. A game that I absolutely hugely enjoyed last night, and the more I've slept on it, well, barely slept, but the little I slept on it, and as the day passed today, it sunk into my head in an even more gratifying sense. I really enjoyed it. I think there was loads of stories from it, and actually, if anything, the 5 things is sort of limited, you know. So if you want my full honest take, of course, go and watch the match reaction from last night where I go through every single individual, all the players and all the bigger messages from it, and I feel like I'm leaving stuff out of this already looking ahead, but you know, you can't focus on everything. But yeah, this of course is just a little deeper dive on some topics that I feel are worthy of discussion. So if you want to watch more content about the game and of course last night's footage, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. You get Manchester City videos on a daily basis over here. Decent, I think, pretty decent. I'm biased, of course, because I make the videos, but people have been watching for an awful long time. 70-odd thousand people seem to agree with, with the quality of these videos, so give it a watch and subscribe if you're new. Hello and happy birthday to Dorpiria in the chat. Big up there to Shazam, John, Controversial Mr. Man, Blauermond, Legends, in the chat there live. Do get involved and let me know the things that you took from the game last night. Yeah, of course, Marmouche will be coming home as of Saturday. Egypt out, but they've got the third place playoff, so unfortunately he won't be home, immediately, unfortunately. Unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for us, because we could do with him. That's one of the things I'm not going to talk about, but we could do with him, almost certainly. Let's dive into it. The first thing I want to talk about is Antoine Semenyo. We can't really start anywhere other than our new signing. This man is a killer. Not literally, don't worry, he's not going to Strange Witch prison anytime soon, but Semenyo is a killer in front of goal, the kind of killer that we've been lacking for an awful long time. Seriously, it's been so frustrating watching Manchester City fail to score chances, fail to put the ball in the back of the net when it felt easier to do so, which has ultimately cost us, about 6 points over the past few weeks in the Premier League. We'd be top of the Premier League if we could finish, put it that way. Sunderland, Chelsea, Brighton, we should have won all those games due to, but we didn't due to poor finishing, and that is the most frustrating aspect of it. Whereas Antoine Semenyo's come in and he should be on 3 goals already in 2 games. Of course, his first goal against Exeter, got an assist against Exeter. He scored yesterday, a beautiful goal, just a beautiful goal in its simplicity, and a beautiful goal just because of what it meant. It was so nice to see a player just attack the back post. Honestly, so frustrating watching players just not do that. And Guardiola said, after the game, I can't remember the exact quote, I'm going to paraphrase, but he's been telling the wingers the importance of doing it for ages, whereas Semenyo is naturally good at it. We've not had anyone do that since Sterling aggressively. Literally, Raheem Sterling was incredibly aggressive attacking the back post and got 10 tap-ins a season because of it. Semenyo will get minimum 10 tap-ins a season for that same instinct. And, all it was the winger to winger. I think Bernardo did Bernardo get a flick on it? But either way, Doku put a cross in and he worked his way over to Semenyo, who taps it in. A winger hitting a winger. Honestly, I got flashbacks. It was beautiful. Second goal, of course, which was disallowed, was a beautiful goal and a perfectly good goal in my opinion. It involved his strength holding off the defender and flicking it in really nicely. This guy's going to score an awful lot of goals. And this is going to be the most basic thing I'll ever say, but guess what? Goals win games. They absolutely do. And Semenyo is another killer, which we need, especially given the fact that, right now, Haaland maybe is not in his best form. The man is absolutely exhausted. Guardiola said after the game he's knackered on his feet. So we need a goal scorer. And Semenyo is stepping up, and he looks like he's going to be an incredibly, incredibly useful signing. He looks like he's going to get 20 goals a season at Manchester City, almost certainly, because the guy knows where the back of the net is, and he's playing with elite players now, world-class players, where at Bournemouth he was playing with good players. Now he's playing with Cherki. Now he's playing with Doku. Now he's playing with Foden and Rodri. Ait-Nouri getting forward, getting assists. He's playing with a quality of player now that he is unheard of for him over at Bournemouth. Second thing I want to talk about is, where's it gone? The extra depth, how it changes everything. Now, a blurry picture there, but on that picture you can see Max Alleyne, you can see Ait-Nouri, you can see Cherki, Bernardo Silva, Reinders. 3 of those guys came off the bench. Reinders, Cherki and Ait-Nouri all came off the bench. And I'll show you the bench right now and what it did yesterday. So here's the lineup from yesterday. Of course, we had Max Alleyne and Khusanov, Nunes and Ake, Nico O'Reilly in midfield, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Semenyo, Doku, Haaland. Pretty strong side still. James Trafford. But look what we were able to bring off the bench yesterday. Rico Lewis, Rodri, Reinders, Cherki and Ait-Nouri. We have been crying out for quality off the bench for an awful long time now. And I've said that, people have played down the injuries and fitness and got frustrated saying it plays no difference. Of course it bloody does. It always makes a difference. When your squad is that stretched, you're going to feel the effect of it. And look what the difference made when we could bring on all these individuals. As soon as we got Rico Lewis, Rodri and Reinders on, so those three midfield players, Rico of course went to right back, but when we brought them on, the quality on the ball was exponentially different. Like, we kept it so easily. We were passing it around for fun. The possession went up. Then you brought Ryan Cherki on, who increased that an awful lot as well. The creativity went up another level. Him and Rodri were exchanging passes, which tired Newcastle out. And then, of course, you bring on Ryan Ait-Nouri, got an assist for Cherki for a goal with a wonderful bit of skill. Look what they brought on. Rico Lewis brought tenacity and game intelligence. Rodri brought Rodri. Reinders brought great skill, keeping the ball really nicely. Cherki brought creative brilliance. Ait-Nouri brought a technical abilities to the side that we didn't have on the pitch previously. And then when you consider the fact that that's all without Marmoush, Semenyo, Vardiol, Diaz, John Stones, Oscar Bob Kovacic, it's really good. Like, a lot of people have not excused the players for the injuries and so on, and the results have said it's nothing to do with that. Tiredness, blah, with paid this amount of money, blah blah blah. It's very obvious to me that. Are you telling me that if we didn't have like Ait-Nouri, we didn't have Nico Gonzalez and Rodri both available at the same time, we didn't have Marmoush, we didn't have Kovacic available, we've had all these players available, Reinders and Cherki and Foden all rotating and whatever, of course it would have made a difference to our season. Absolutely, we would be a vastly better side because these players, these quality players, they come on and they impact the game. And you saw that last night. Rico Lewis, Rodri, Reinders, Cherki, Ait-Nouri, they were all absolutely excellent. So that extra depth changes everything. If we can keep a pretty good squad fit, we've got a whole bunch of players there that suddenly looks really exciting, especially with the additions, and there is an addition of Alleyne and the addition of Semenyo as well. Like, the team just feels different. The return of Ait-Nouri as well as an option, we've barely seen him so far. So Ait-Nouri feels like an extra addition because he's been injured and barely played. Marmoush has barely played this season. Then you add Semenyo to there, and Max Alleyne coming in. All of a sudden the depth, it changes everything. We should be positive about that. Bernardo deserves respect. I chose this photo for a reason, because he was under that man's skin all game. Guardiola could not wait to talk about Bernardo Silva after the game, and absolutely, he was asked about Semenyo and how good he was, and all he could do was actually just talk about Bernardo Silva. He said, "You cannot imagine how much of a player Bernardo Silva is. This player will be missed. Hopefully he can extend it for I don't know how many centuries. That guy is a competitor. He knows all the rules and everything." Bernardo Silva yesterday, look, I understand the flamboyance on the ball maybe has disappeared a little bit, and occasionally he can look a little bit maybe mundane in his style because he isn't all fancy that he used to be. But Bernardo Silva has this wonderful ability of understanding the game state and getting under the skin of his opposition. Bernardo Silva had Newcastle in his pocket last night. Of course, he got an assist as well with the flick onto Semenyo, but Bernardo Silva was everywhere, covering so much ground. Covering so much ground, initiating the press, switching it up, being a leader on the pitch, while also you had Newcastle on strings. Like, the amount of times you get the ball and spin this way and that way and draw in the bullish, often idiotic Joe Linton, and the often even equally idiotic and headstrong Bruno Guimaraes. As good as those both players are, Bruno Guimaraes in particular, but they're all prone to jumping in because that's how Newcastle play with the emotion of the game. So Bernardo Silva knew that, and he took advantage of their naivety, so to speak. And he was brilliant. Bernardo Silva is a Manchester City legend that, football has dulled a little bit in terms of the amount of running that he's got to do. He's not the same flamboyant player he was 4 or 5 years ago, but he's still a fantastically smart footballer, a natural leader, and one of the most gifted, players in the world when it comes to intelligence and game state understanding, while also working like a dog, fulfilling several roles, covering players, and being a smart senior head amongst a young, vastly changed side. He deserves respect. He'll probably almost certainly leave, in the summer when his contract's up on a free. But Bernardo is a legend, and he's Guardiola's favourite for a reason. I love Bernardo Silva. I think he's one of our greatest ever players. Absolutely, he's probably top 10 ever for me. I think he's a genius, and everything we've achieved, it would not be possible without him. Bernardo Silva, you're a legend, mate. Khusanov and Alleyne have it, another blurry photo, but I had to find one with them together, and I had to find that expression of them together. Look, I don't think they were perfect at all opportunities. I don't think they were. But the point is, this is a bunch of lads who'd never probably even met each other up until, a few days ago. No, they had, to be fair. I think they might have trained together last season. But these two young centre-backs, one more experience, in Khusanov, of course, who played in the Premier League last season, a £40 million centre-back, and one, of course, an academy lad who's played about 15, 16 games for Watford, recalled out of nowhere to play for Manchester City, and they formed this partnership that's so beautifully balanced, that has so much potential and promise. I think they have it. I think both of them have it. What it is hard to define. It's an intangible thing. You watch certain players and you understand if they have the mentality to be elite footballers, and Max Alleyne, Abdikir Khusanov, they both do in very different ways. Absolutely, Max Alleyne is all laconic elegance. The way that he strolls around the pitch, it brings back beautiful memories of John Stones at his peak, or Emerick Laporte driving in into the middle of the park with that left foot. He immediately flashes you back to all those wonderfully gifted centre backs that we've had with loads of ability. Of course, he's got a lot to improve on. He's only young, 21 years old, barely played any football, and there's a couple of times where maybe physically outthought, and that's absolutely fine. It's going to happen, and maybe he didn't read the game perfectly, but what he does do is get stuck in. What he does do is commit himself to the game, and he shows bravery and courage. I remember Guardiola saying John Stones has bigger balls than everyone in the room, and Alleyne has a very similar level of confidence in his ability. Like, nothing phases him. The guy is going to be a fantastic footballer if he carries on improving, but when you look at his mentality, it's very obvious to me that this guy is a student of the game, that one who will naturally improve because his mentality allows it. Nothing scares him, and he's obviously a good teacher and a natural leader. So I've got an awful lot of time for Alleyne. I think he's going to be a cracking player. And then Khusanov on the other side is one of the most absurdly gifted centre-backs you'll ever see in terms of physicality and defensive attributes. If you were to build a perfect centre-back in the lab, you'd want them to be whip it quick. You want them to be so quick that they could cover every part of the pitch horizontally, from left back to right back, and cover the channels and catch up to everyone. Khusanov is that. You'd have him as strong as an ox, where if any centre forward went shoulder to shoulder with him, they'd bounce off him like a football off a wall. And that's what happens when Khusanov shoulder bars you. You'd have him have an incredible leap in the air and an incredible one-on-one ability with challenges. And Khusanov has all those attributes. He is so unique in terms of his attributes, and he's good on the ball as well. Not quite as good on the ball as maybe as Max Alleyne, but I think he was more progressive in his passing. He'll get better on that front as well. But they both have it. They could be our centre backs in 10 years' time quite easily. I'm really excited to watch how they develop, and we're so lucky that, as I said last night in my match reaction, I sometimes love the serendipitous nature of football, where you've got, two guys you'd never even dream of playing together 10 days ago, and now our centre-back partnership is great, and they look like they're enjoying it, and football does that sometimes, and it's a story I'm all here for. Finally, I wanted to talk about the broad strokes. I saw so many photos like this last night, where players and coaches celebrating together. This is just one of many where they're all embraced and they're all hugging. The team really needed that win. It's been obviously we won 10-1 the other day, but that wasn't serious in the way that this one was. This was away at Newcastle, a team that beat us 2-1 earlier in the season. This was the real game following on after 3 frustrating draws, and this was a game with many changes, with Nico Riley playing in midfield and tired Erling Haaland up top. And Erling Haaland really is fucking knackered, by the way. Guardiola said Marmoush needs to come back soon. We talked about depth earlier. That'll help him massively. But you got a tired Haaland, you got a new lad in Semenyo, you got Ake playing left back again, Alleyne, Khusanov, James Trafford in goal. James Trafford is not getting his moment in the sun here, by the way. I nearly did a James Trafford point here, but I wanted to do this instead because I think it's more pertinent. James Trafford, excellent last night, by the way. Truly excellent. A great keeper. But anyway, I think the team really needed that win because so many changes, so many injuries, and a bunch of draws in a row. You could have easily had your confidence knocked. And I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of people thought Newcastle would beat City in this competition last night. And I think City needed that. They were buzzing at full time. They were buzzing to get the second goal after the frustration of the nonsense VAR VAR decision that robbed us of the second goal, and the way that they scored it in the end with beautiful football. And once again, I really want to stress how good that goal was. Semenyo to Ait-Nouri, a little 1-2. The ball works its way to Cherki, plays a 1-2 with Ait-Nouri and puts the ball in the back of the net. That was liquid football. If that was David Silva, Bernardo Silva and Leroy Sané or whatever in their pomp, none of us would have questioned it. It was gorgeous to witness, a fantastic goal, a goal of the highest quality, and a goal that this team needed, and a win that this team really needed. You know, that'll give this team massive confidence with loads of positive stories, loads of players impressing, returning players impressing, the substitutes helping. Yeah, and then you add Nico Gonzalez to this, you add Marmoush to it, you add, you know, who else is unavailable? I've forgotten already. You add return of Vardiol Diaz eventually. You know, Savinho, Bob back on the pitch. The shining brilliance of Makeda and Makassar as youngsters. Yeah, it looks really, really encouraging. I think this was a real feel-good night for Manchester City. Massively so. And I enjoyed it. And you can tell by the reactions on those faces there. Doku excellent last night, by the way. And I nearly talked about him in his individual segment. But as I said, match reaction for all that stuff. I think the players loved it. Brilliant stuff. A battling win against a tired side that they make you earn it, you know. A horrible place to go, but City won last night. They're the 5 things I want to talk about, guys. Semenyo is indeed a killer. Looks like we got ourselves a real gem there. Thank you very much, Bournemouth, and thank you very much his agent for putting that release clause in his contract. The extra depth does change everything. The substitutions were fantastic last night. You know, the fresh faces of Ait-Nouri, Max Alleyne, Semenyo. Really, 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 really good. I didn't even talk about Cherki, by the way. Fantastic again, but as it is. Bernardo deserves respect because this man is a walking legend for Manchester City Football Club. If he got a statue, he won't, but if he did, I wouldn't complain personally. Khusanov and Alleyne have it. They could be cracking players, and the team really needed that win. They're the 5 things that I took from this game. Of course, as always, give the video a like. It does help support a lifelong Manchester City fan, just a blue like you. And help me support the channel. Give the video a like. Subscribe if you're new to this channel. You won't regret it, I promise you. And I'll see you tomorrow for another video. For now, up the Blues. 1 foot in the final. Bye-bye.